my mom would actually take us to the bar with her when she was drinking with her friends. She would either leave us in the car and we would just sit out in the car and wait for her to be done drinking. Or there were actually a few times where we were able to go in the bars and just sit there with her, and she would play pool and we would play pool, and she would drink with her buddies and we would just be in there, and there was a bunch of smoke, because back then that's when you could actually smoke in bars and restaurants. And yeah, you can imagine how nasty that smelled. It was such, oh my gosh, it was gross having to smell the smoke constantly. We would either ride our bikes to school or we would walk to school. So my sister, in the wintertime, my oldest sister, she would walk in front of us and she would make tracks in the snow, and my middle sister and I, we would walk behind her, and that's how we would get to school in the wintertime. And then when it was sunny outside, we would ride our bikes. But it's just crazy because we didn't live close to the school, and the fact my mom would let us do that just, again, blows my mind. I'm like, we easily could have been kidnapped, hit by a car, or God forbid, we just would never go to school. But we loved going to school. I remember loving going to school and like reading books. We would walk home with books shoved in our face. It was kind of our escape from what we were dealing with at home. Yeah, and then on Wednesdays, we actually went to youth group, and then on Sunday, we had church. So we went to 2 different churches. So that was actually kind of a good thing. My mom encouraged us to go to church, which honestly I think was a saving grace, because if we didn't go to church, we would get in more trouble. I mean, honestly, and we wouldn't have that foundation of God being in our life. And I really think that kind of set me up for having a relationship with him later on. One time my mom actually woke us up in the middle of the night. I don't even remember what time it was. It was probably maybe like 1 or 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Who knows? All I know, it was in the middle of the winter, and my mom woke us up like normal. Hey girls, wake up, get your snow boots on, get your snow gear on. Mind you, in Montana, it's like feet of snow. It's not inches, it's feet. Okay. Just to paint a picture for you. And so my mom woke us up, and my sisters and I, we knew that it was earlier than normal. And so we actually walked to one of our friends' house that we would go to school with. And we went there and we stopped there first. And they were like, it's in the middle of the night. What is going on? Why are you guys here? And we told them the story. Hey, our mom woke us up to go to school. And so we actually, I think we stayed the night there. But I think they called the cops on my mom, because they're like, what the frick is going on? Like, you shouldn't be doing this. You know, like, be more responsible. And mind you, we had DHS in and out, and we were dodging DHS. I remember there was a couple times that we were actually over at the neighbor's house, and we saw people go to our house, knock on our door, and we were like peeping through the window. I'm like, oh, there's people at the door looking for us. And, you know, we would be watching them from the neighbor's house to know when we could go back home. So yeah, we were dodging. People were calling DHS. It wasn't like people weren't trying for us. But my mom refused. She refused to have us be taken away, even though eventually she gave us up to our grandma and my uncle. But yeah, that was definitely an interesting time. We had a couple different babysitters that we had. One babysitter was actually a really good place for us. I remember that's where I actually learned how to tie my shoes. And one of the guys' names there was Ernie, and I just thought it was so funny. And we had little frozen yogurt sticks and tomato soup, and I loved that daycare, but for whatever reason we had to stop going. And then our other babysitter was it was disgusting. And they actually lived in a different town from where we lived, so it was about 45 an hour drive, and my mom would leave us there for days. Luckily, the town that our babysitter lived in, we had other family, and so our other family members would actually come and take us from the babysitter's house, because think about an episode on Hoarders. Their house was literally like that, moldy food everywhere. You couldn't even step anywhere without stepping on food, clothes, garbage, trash. Every time I went there, I lost a shoe. It was horrible. And I remember their kids were so mean to me. They would legit pick me up by my head and by my ears and like have me dangle. And I'm like, what are they doing to me? I have no idea. They were so weird. It was insane. And one time I actually got in trouble, and the babysitter was, she was probably 300 pounds, 400 pounds. And I'm not like fat shaming anybody. Don't take this out of context, but I got in trouble, and my punishment was to take a nap with her on the couch, on the inside of the couch. And I was, like I said, 5, 6, 7-year-old, and I was super tiny. And I just remember like being so scared because I couldn't breathe because she was literally crushing me. And I'm like, I'm suffocating because she's so big. And I'm pretty sure this is where I was introduced to Eminem. Yeah. He was like my favorite artist growing up. I loved the movie 8 Mile. His songs were super explicit, talking about drugs, like super descriptive, sexual, all of that stuff. So that also just gives you another picture of how having a more sexualized childhood, being exposed to that artist. When I look back and I listen to the songs that I used to listen to in the movie, I just couldn't believe. I'm like, what the heck? I was in love with it. It was like so crazy. Like I just rapped his songs. Like I knew every word and every verse, and it was just so crazy. But I know why, is because I felt like we had similar upbringings, living in a trailer park, living with a mom that was an alcoholic, all of this stuff. And so I found comfort in his songs, even though being my age, I should not have been listening to that.